Hello, YouTubers, and welcome back to the Ohio Patriot Education Network channel, and to another episode of The Grandstand. I am, as always, your host, AR, aka the Ohio Patriot. For today's episode, we're going to be talking about a few different topics, including the Democrats eating their own when it comes to various legislation that should be passed already, should have been passed decades ago, honestly, and them not doing a damn thing about things is what it is, dude. And nor would they, because they don't fucking care, because they're all committing crimes, is what it is, man. The same thing with the rhinos in the office as well on that one. So, before we get into that, though, we're going to discuss a couple of other topics of the day, including part of last night's panel that I was part of for the Saturday night chats that I usually go do with Honda and Company. So, that was an interesting panel discussion. There was a guy on there who I want to say he was claiming like anarcho capitalism or something, or something along those lines is what it was. And he also seemed to be talking about like sovereign citizen style stuff as well. And I'm just like, yeah, that's okay then, buddy, kind of thing is what it was. Like that's on you, dude. That's your fucking deal. I'm not gonna be going down that road kind of thing is what it is because I've never really been a big fan of that kind of crap anyway is what it is. And my thing is, when people like myself call ourselves constitutionalists, there's a reason for that. It's because we want to follow, the founding documents as they were written, kind of thing. And we understand that, our founding fathers are some of the smartest people out there. And what they actually wrote down was a various set of things that government can't take away from you. They can't take away your free speech. They can't take away your right to keep and bear arms, like stuff like that. And this dude was basically sort of laughing that off, is what it was. And it's like, okay, buddy, then what's the better solution? Like, give me a better solution than that. That's not your fucking anarcho bullshit, is what it is. Because the thing is, if you look back at history, and this is kind of where this guy sort of meshed in with some of the stuff I've discussed before about society falling and stuff like that. Eventually, a lot of the systems back in those days were anarcho capitalism and stuff like that, or some kind of anarchy type of deal, and almost all of them were conquered by other empires is what it was, and they were conquered by other empires because they could not fucking actually fight back against those other empires is what it ended up being. And so you ended up having a bunch of guys with whatever uh various weaponry or whatever it was at the time, and yeah, they had no ability to fight back against some kind of a stronger force is what it was. The one thing I think is interesting, though, when it comes to these sovereign citizen types, travelers, whatever they want to call themselves at that point, it's these folks that'll sit there and talk about these different things like that or whatever, but then will be like, oh, but I don't actually have a license or whatever the case be because this is another thing this guy was talking about last night. He's like, yeah, because in order to get a license, like you basically would have to tell the state that you're this thing or whatever the case be. And it's like, okay, so you're driving illegally on the road is what it is? Like, what the fuck? Like, I don't know, man. It just seems real fucking shady is what it is. And I really think that, again, it goes back to that sort of situation where I talked about this years ago, is what it was during, it was either right before I was federally swatted or like maybe like a few months before that, I think maybe. It was whenever all the shit was going on in like Portland, Oregon with Antifa and stuff like that versus the original Proud Boys and things. And it was some, I forget exactly what the rally was or whatever, like who it was for, what it was for, whatever. But there was basically like an event going on there where you had a bunch of people who were trying to rally and do like a whole thing about like, oh yeah, this is why we shouldn't have like this thing or whatever it was. And then you had a bunch of Antifa jackasses show up and just trying to cause all kinds of mayhem and everything else like that. And then they basically got their asses beat by a whole bunch of people, and rightfully so, because they're a bunch of fucking clowns. And then you had, various people talking to other people and stuff like that. And you had one guy that was talking to one of these um, Antifa type people, and they were like, okay, like, what do you guys believe in, kind of thing. And the guy's like, oh, we believe in this like anarchy kind of rule and stuff like that. And what he was basically discussing was, and this is kind of what the guy last night, this Corey, whatever the hell his name is, um, spelled Cory, you had that dude who was basically discussing about how it was like top dog or like biggest dog in the fight kind of mentality. And that's kind of what this Antifa type guy was talking about years ago and stuff. And I'm just like, okay, so how close do these like movements fall towards each other is what it is. or are they kind of the same thing as what it is to like different aspects and different names and stuff like that? And that's what I kind of feel like in some cases. And some people will be like, "Oh yeah, but that dude was like educated or whatever the case be." And I've talked about this before many times. Just because you have an education doesn't make you smart, dude. There's a lot of people out there that are quote unquote, book smart or whatever the case be, but they have no, and I've been talking about this the other day actually. It was about the whole savviness thing. It's like difference between like book smarts and street smarts because you have like people that are like, you know, street smart or savvy and understand like, the rules of the streets is what it is. And then you have other people who are quote unquote book smart, but don't know a fucking thing, don't know their ass from their elbow when it comes to a lot of stuff, and then want to sit there and bitch and moan about different topics or different things or whatever it is. And the worst part about that is when you have those kind of folks on, it's a situation there where if they don't know what the fuck they're even talking about, like what's the hell's the point of even listening to them kind of thing? And so what you end up with is a situation of just totally crazy shit going on there. And what you also end up with is a situation of people just wanting to basically have a say in something. And I didn't get a chance to ask that Corey guy that, and I wish I would have last night because since he was talking about like not having, I don't know if he even said he didn't have a license or not, but he was basically talking about like how he traveled and didn't drive or whatever. And my thinking is, it's like, okay, so are you voting then? Like, do you have a legal ability to vote in this country? Because if you're not voting, like you're part of the problem and not part of the solution, buddy, kind of thing. And I feel like that with a lot of people. I've talked about that with so many people in this country, dude. Now, granted, I'm not going to sit here and go on a whole tirade about voting and how it would actually work. I mean, it depends if you're voting a good person in or not. If it's actually going to work out for you or not in the long run. But the whole point is, though, it's like, yeah, if you're not going to sit there and actively, participate in the ability to legally vote or legally do whatever there, like, what the hell are you doing kind of thing, all you're doing is just like feeding the beast kind of thing is what it is by allowing the same people to be voted back into office without your say or your consent is what it is then. And I think that's my biggest problem with so many of these folks is what it is. So many of these sovereign types and stuff like that is what it ends up being because, again, it's a situation where it's like, nah, bro, like you had the ability to kind of stop this with, your vote. Like, yeah, you're just one vote. But again, if you have, 100,000 people who are like, oh, I'm just one vote and don't vote at all, like that's a huge fucking voter block not being used right now, and being used for constitutionalism or whatever else that case be, man. And that's the problem. And again, that's exactly why going back to 2016, why I created the Internet Libertarian Party, because I was so fucking disillusioned with both Republicans and Democrats at the time that I was like, no, we got to have a better third option is what it is, dude. And it was the best of all things that we took from. It wasn't just Democrats, it wasn't just Republicans, it wasn't just in the Libertarian Party or Green Party or anything else like that. It was like a mix of like everything, dude. And essentially it was basically just based on constitutionalism at the end of the day and pro-life and things like that, dude. Which what's sad is when you look at political party structure in this country, when you have quote unquote Republicans, conservatives, whatever the case be, being considered to be, oh, they're pro-life movement or whatever the case be, and it's like the Democrats are like anti-life and stuff like that. But then you have people who will be, pro-life Democrats, but they still vote Democrats, what it is, dude. And it's like, why? Or in the same case, it's like, why are you voting for the candidate that's against your own morals? Why are you voting for the candidate that's against your ability for child life to be born is what it is, man. For children to actually be born out of the womb. And the one thing that just bothers the shit out of me in the last few weeks here in Ohio, you've had some piece of shit judge basically de facto make abortion up to 5.5 months of pregnancy legal and then extend the motherfucker without any kind of higher judges or judge panel or whatever the case be taking them and being like, no, fuck you, you're out of here now, you're just barred kind of thing is what it is, dude, which should have happened already at this point. Or the state, for that matter, suing the shit out of these people. And that's what, again, the problem pisses me off, dude, is it's like, if you need seriously, if the state of Ohio needs a fucking plaintiff to be all pro-life and shit, give me a fucking call. Give the network a fucking call, dude. We'll be your fucking plaintiffs for you. We'll sue the shit out of these fucking judges if it comes to it, dude. If that's what we need to do to stop kids from being murdered in the fucking womb every day for the next several weeks in this state. That's what should be done right now. Because it's fucking disgusting, dude. You're talking about a human life. You're talking about a kid that could be one of my third or fourth cousins. Because I forget if the kid is a third or a fourth cousin to me, but it was about 6-7 years ago now. This child was born at 21 weeks, premature little baby, and survived. That kid is alive today because the doctors did not give up on him, because his parents did not give up on him, and is a healthy, thriving child. And these sick fucks, these sick fucking demon people, man, they're not people. These sick fucking demons that want to sit there and call themselves doctors will end that fucking life at 5.5 months. Are you fucking retarded? How the hell did you even pass medical school if you're willing to execute a fucking child in the womb at that time period, dude? And you're damn right I'm passionate about this shit, man. And that is exactly why I've said for some time, if I ever did run for office, I would be one of the most pro-life candidates on the fucking ballot, dude. Because it's disgusting. It's sickening that we as a country, for 50 fucking years now, have allowed children, viable children, in the hundreds of millions at this point, to be executed in the fucking womb by some sick pieces of shit. Like, when is enough enough, man? When do people start getting charged with crimes against humanity? Seriously. It just blows my fucking mind that we are allowing this shit to continue on again and again and again. And then you have people that are just like, oh no, it's whatever, dude. No, it's not. You're literally killing a fucking human life. You're taking there's a reason why whenever someone kills a pregnant woman, they get charged with double murder, not just single murder, because people understand that fucking so-called fetus is a human child growing within them. And the fact that these sick fucking abortion doctors want to sit there and say, oh no, it's not a thing. No, it's not a thing. Fuck you people, man. And as much as I hate Mike DeWine, as much as I fucking hate that dude's guts, to see these fucking bullshit political attack ads from these fucking stupid cunts like Nan Whaley and her fucking retarded bunch of fucking retards, to where she'll go find some chick that claims to be, oh, I'm an Ohio doctor, and now it's harder for me to do my job because Ohio wants to ban abortion. Why? Because you're a fucking child murderer, you dumb bitch? Is that fucking why, you piece of shit? How about actually be a doctor and save fucking lives, bitch? Like, goddamn. Fucking ridiculous, dude. Like I said, I fucking can't stand these people, dude. They are some of the most disgusting motherfuckers in our society currently. And they want to sit there and just kill kids in the fucking womb on a daily basis, dude. And think people are going to put up with it. It's like, no, fuck you. Fuck you and fuck your bullshit, dude. And like I said, to have nobody come forward and be like, no, we're going to countersue the ACLU and shit like that, dude. And the fact that the fucking ACLU of Ohio got involved in this whole thing, dude, to try to make abortion up to 5.5 months legal, should tell you everything you know about that George Soros bought and paid for piece of shit organization, dude. Every single one of those fuckers should be in jail right now, dude. And I mean that seriously. American Civil Liberties Union, my fucking ass, dude. You are not about Americans. You are not about civil liberties at all, dude. What you are about is killing fucking kids in the womb, you sick demon fucks. And it's literally as simple as that, man. And I am fucking done with these people, dude. I am so fucking done with these fucking people. For those interested, this is a lot of what we talked about in Rumblequakes early on. You know? Because I'm just sick and tired of it, dude. I really am. It's disgusting. It's sick. It's fucking sickening to sit here and see these motherfuckers be able to just walk freely while they're actively committing fucking genocide against the human race, dude. It just blows my mind. Just blows my mind, dude. It's like, how are they getting away with this shit? I just don't understand it. I just don't get it. Maybe that's the point, though. Maybe the point is I don't get it, dude. Or maybe it's that we as a country have just set back for so long and been willing to put up with this shit for so fucking long that literally no one cares, man. It's just sad. It's just so sad. I don't know. It just, oh my God. Like I said, man, it infuriates me to no end because it's like, as someone who wants to be a father, and I've wanted to be a father for years now, and I think what I've realized in the last 6 months or so, after everything that happened to me with some of the other guys in this community and stuff like that, is there's a piece missing of me right now, and that piece is a child or children. And whether that be, biological children, or whether that be, I end up being with some chick and adopting some kids or whatever the case be, it doesn't really matter. I'd like to have at least one of my own, though, for sure. Just because, it'd be nice to be able to just have, a son or a daughter to call your own and be able to be like your legacy, basically. And that's a lot of the thing with the network itself, dude, is we're trying to be not for us. We want to be for that next generation, the generation after that, and stuff like that. There's a great quote that somebody said some time ago, and I forget exactly what the entire quote of it is, but it's essentially something along the lines of planting a tree whose shade you will never sit under. And I feel like that is basically me in a nutshell, dude. You know, I don't think I have a whole lot more time left on this earth right now in my late 30s. And I think, truthfully, I would like to plant the seed of constitutionalism in the next generation. Whether that be with helping pass legislation at a state or federal level, or whether that be, something else for that matter. Cement a legacy, basically, is what it is. And it would be nice to be looked back on, 40, 50, 100 years from now, and have somebody be like, oh, I wonder who that guy was. I wonder who the Ohio Patriot was. I wonder who the founder of the Ohio Patriot Education Network was. And then they find out who I actually am, and that I was just a guy, just a guy that had enough of fucking government tyranny. A guy who was federally swatted for fucking words. And, finally just wasn't having it no more, dude, is what it was. And was just fucking sick and tired of all of it, dude. And that's the truth right now, honestly, dude, is, I have no qualms with no hate for anybody or whatever the case be there, but like, I have issues when people want to sit there and will act like it's okay to permanently end human life, or will sit there and be like, oh, it's okay to indoctrinate these kids with all kinds of pedophile shit and everything else like that. It's like, no, it's not, dude. And fuck you for trying to do it. And that's the biggest problem right now. You have so many fucking people that think that shit's okay, or that it'll be fucking tolerated and stuff like that. It's like, no, man, go fuck yourself. And it just blows me away that so many of our society, so many people in our society were so easily led astray, and we're basically being like, oh no, it's government trying to seize more power. No, that's perfectly fine, bro. It's no, nothing wrong with that. It's like, yes, there is. There's a lot wrong with that. All of it's wrong. All of it. And the fact that they don't get that is even more telling to me, honestly, because it's like, you're basically showing your ineptitude in the whole fucking matter, dude. And how you're cool with being fucking, cool to cucking out to tyranny, basically, is what it is. Like, I'm not that kind of a person, dude. I'm not going to fucking do that shit. It's why I will use my platform as long as I have one. Because I'm sick and tired of it, dude. It's why I'll call out both major political parties every fucking chance I get because I'm sick of all of them. Because there's no reason for us to be a two-party country at this point politically when you have so many people who have other good ideas, or at least ideas anyway. They might not be good ideas, but they're at least ideas. And at least then we can actually have a real fucking debate about shit, dude. Bring your idea to the fucking table and see if it's good or not, dude. And that's the thing. That's why even going back and talking about that dude from earlier, that random Corey guy that was with High Impact Flicks and stuff like that, has done collaboration with him, I guess. That's why, even though I don't agree with that guy's thing, like, I'll let him have a fucking platform and be able to say what he wants to say and stuff like that, dude. Like, why wouldn't I? There's no reason not to. And the entire fucking point of the whole thing is being able to have those discussions, being able to actually discuss things as an adult. And I feel like far too many fucking people in this country do not understand that shit, dude. They don't understand what being an adult actually is, or what it entails, or what the hell, we as a nation need to fucking do, is what it is, dude. They just want to sit there and be a little bitch about things. And then people wonder, like, why others have fucking issues with things, dude. And it's like, that's why, bro, because you're literally cucking out to fucking tyranny, and you don't even realize it. You don't even realize that you're being fucking used and abused by a tyrannical fucking government that could not give two shits about you, and if they had the fucking opportunity, would kill you in mass just with everybody else, dude. And have sat there for decades upon decades and fucked around with your fucking money and your ability to even carry on a fucking conversation or have a fucking, anything in this country without it being a huge fucking issue, man. And like I said, I'm just over it at this point. I am fucking done with it, man. I am 100% fucking done with it. There is zero fucking reason to put up with this shit anymore, man. Zero. And it's time for us as a country to literally take matters into our own hands, and it starts by voting everybody the fuck out of office, dude. I would say that across the board at this point. Every fucking incumbent, I don't care if they're Democrat, Republican, Independent, whatever the fuck they are, dude. Vote them all out. Vote them all out, start fresh. Or at minimum, figure out who's the best in the fucking primaries to primary their fucking asses and do it that way. Because that's what we need to be doing right now, dude. We need to be focusing more on that shit. Focusing a lot more on the primary side of things. And if you can actually get to a point where you can understand that, yeah, it's time to fucking do something here, then you're in the better camp is what it is, dude. Because you understand that, yes, something major needs to fucking shift right now. And I believe that that's where we're seeing the pendulum swings in this country right now. We're seeing people who are just fucking done with it all, dude. Who have just had it, who aren't going to listen to shit. Now, granted, in that same vein of things, I could be talking about the opposite thing as well in this situation of that dude I was mentioning earlier. Like, it could be something like that even, where that could be a pendulum swing right there. It could be that person living outside of, the entire construct, if you will. And my thing is, though, with people like that is, any of those, I don't know if I want to call that guy a sovereign citizen or not. I just want to, I don't know exactly what he would be want to call it at this point, but it's like, abolitionist, I think is the word he kept using a lot last night, which let's go ahead and look up abolitionist actually right now and do a little screen share of exactly what that actually would entail then. So, okay, so the technical definition for abolitionist is a person who favors the abolition of a practice of institution, especially capital punishment or slavery. And that's what he kept bringing up, was the whole like slavery aspect of how, Americans are still slaves because we're paying taxes and all this other shit like that. And the thing is, to some extent, I would say yes. To other extents, I would say no. And it's because of the fact that, you know, again, this goes back to something I've mentioned with people several times in the past. And it's basically like, okay, so let's go ahead and say you did away with all taxation and stuff like that in this country, right? How are things going to get done then? And I'm not saying that we should be paying like all these crazy ass taxes either, dude. I think honestly, in true fashion, if we like go and looking at human history and stuff like that, dude, throughout our own country's history and stuff like that, look at how many rebellions there were after the original founding of this country, dude. Whether it be the Shays Rebellion, whether it be the Whiskey Rebellion, whether it be uh, the Nat Turner Rebellion, who was literally a dude who was a slave and it was one of the original insurrection acts and stuff like that in this country, and he tried to basically get a bunch of slaves on the side and stuff like that to take a rebellion against their masters and stuff like that. Didn't work out well for them, obviously, because yeah, they were put down very fucking quickly, is what it was, dude. So, you know, then again, that was a different story altogether. It was a different time period as well. And the thing is, of course, eventually that did lead. I think a lot of that shit did eventually lead to, you know, white people standing up and being like, no, we're gonna, abolish this bullshit. We are the abolitionist types and stuff like that. And that's another thing too, by the way, that's really disgusting to me is how this dude that was on the panel last night and stuff, how he was like, oh yeah, I don't actually want to go by history because it's so wish-washy and stuff like that. It's like, the fuck you talking about, dude? Like, some of this shit we know for a fact of what the fuck happened because we have video fucking evidence of it from 80, 90 years ago is what it was, bro. It might not be the greatest video evidence, but it's still like evidence that this shit happened is what it is, dude. Or you have like, in some cases, you still have like firsthand accounts of people that fucking happened to, dude. I mean, hell, there's a woman right now that I know who is in her late 90s. She's almost 100 years old, actually. I think she'll be, or no, actually, she might be over 100 years. No, I'm thinking about it. I think she's either 99 or she's like 101 maybe right now. My aunt said something to me the other day because she's her neighbor is what it is. And I can't remember which it was, if the woman's like 99 or 101. But either way, so you have this old woman, right, who is has survived multiple fucking atrocities in her life. She as a child faced off against both Hitler and Stalin in those time periods, dude. Two different dictators. And you want to sit here and talk to me about history being wishy-washy? It's like, go fuck yourself, bro. Seriously. Like, that's the kind of shit I can't fucking stand is people like that. They're like, yeah, we don't know what the fuck actually happened. It's like, dude, there's an old woman right here who will literally tell you her fucking story. Go fuck yourself. Like, seriously. It's ridiculous, man. It really fucking is. And yeah, for those kind of people to sit there and be like, oh no, that person shouldn't be listened to because whatever, it's like, you're just an idiot, dude. Like, that's the way I feel about it in some of these cases, these fucking people, dude. And, again, it's people that want to sit there and act like, oh, but they're intelligent and stuff like that. It's like, again, just because you're intelligent or intellectual or whatever the case be doesn't mean you're right. Doesn't mean that you are right about things. Hell, you could be wrong about a lot of things, is what it is, man. And the real problem is we as a society are like, okay, cool, say whatever, bro. Now, granted, again, I'm not going to go on the other side of the fucking thing and be like, no, we should have, censorship and shit like that. Fuck that shit, dude. If anything, I would say, anything up to and including fucking, quote unquote threats should be on the fucking table at this point, dude, for real. So, anyway, but, yeah, that being said, there is definitely some folks I think that will take it to an extreme one way or another is what it is, dude. Like, because that's the thing, like, right? Like, no matter what, like, eventually you're going to have people that, wherever they fall in the, pendulum or the spear or whatever it is, you're eventually going to have somebody be like, no, let's just take it to violence immediately kind of thing. And in reality, like, truthfully, that's the last kind of place that we should be taking these things, dude. And I'm going to say it like it is right now. Like, never take it there, dude. Like, don't take it there. Because all you're doing if you're taking it there is you're turning something that should be great and could be great into something bad. Now, granted, that being said, if you actually look again at history lessons and stuff like that, whether it be, various things throughout even our, own history and stuff like that, and the Civil War and stuff like that in this country, dude, there's a lot of things people won't talk about. And hell, I'm actually looking in right now because one of my elderly relatives, one of their, I want to say, so she would be like a second cousin to me, I believe is what it is. And then it would have been her like great grandfather or something was one of the dudes in the Civil War, is what it was. And she apparently has journals from that time. And I'm like, oh, that would be interesting to read those and stuff. So I'm hoping to actually get a hold of those. And if I can get a hold of those and have them, preserved enough to be able to be read and stuff, dude, I'm going to seriously read that shit because I think it's interesting. And there's definitely, I can tell you right now, first, because she apparently has read some of them herself and stuff over the years. And has even said, like, yeah, there's stuff in here that, people wouldn't understand in today's light and shit like that, like what's going on here. And it's a lot of stuff about like firsthand accounts of like what was really happening back then in the actual war and stuff, dude. So yeah, it's pretty crazy. But what's interesting to me is though is again how nobody really wants to discuss stuff like that. Nobody really wants to talk about other things relating to the Civil War and stuff like that. Because the thing is, you always have all these people that when I sit there and claim like, oh yeah, Civil War was based on slavery or whatever the case be. Yes, that was one part of it. That was not the entirety of it though. The entirety of it, there was a lot of southern states at that time that understood that, like, hey, because we have all these plantations and stuff, we have the fucking shit for all the food, dude. And these people up in the north basically want to tax us, whether it be, taking our food, whatever the case be here. And then they were trying to like falsely do it under fucking slavery shit is what it was, dude. And being like, oh, it's because you own slaves and all this other stuff and we're against slavery kind of crap. Which in reality, what's funny is if you actually again look back into the history of Civil War surrounding and everything else like that, there was after the Civil War still slaves in northern states. So, and again, it's like the same thing with the Democrat Party today, dude, where they want to be a bunch of lying fucking cunts and be like, no, that totally, like, we totally weren't the fucking party that KKK or anything like that. It's like, yes, you were, dude. You fuckers literally created that shit. Go fuck yourself. So, yeah, it's just insane to me how people are stupid and don't understand, like, there is a lot of lies being told to us throughout human history. And a lot of it has to do with our own fucking, people in power and stuff like that, dude, that will suppress the truth. And that's another thing, too, by the way. When you look at, most history and stuff like that, whether it be a war or conflict or whatever the case be, dude, great quote again. History is written by the winners because, of course, the losers are dead. It's just like the same thing I mentioned on this channel many times when it comes to fucking people, not understanding like mass genocide or democide and stuff like that, dude. Because once you wake up and understand that kind of stuff, and you realize like, oh shit, they could do this again to us. And then you look at even examples like Tiananmen Square back in the day, dude, where there was a guy in front of the fucking tank and shit like that, trying to stop it. And then of course there was that weird Mandela effect and stuff like that happened after the fact, where people were like, I don't remember there being a guy there or whatever. And it's like, oh yeah, he was there, man. And that's the other thing that's weird too. If you go down that road and stuff like that, I mean, Mandela effect or, glitches in the matrix, whatever you want to call it at that point, like there's a lot of crazy shit, maybe the whole thing, maybe our whole existence is just a simulation and it is like the matrix and stuff like that, where we're just living in fucking some kind of crazy tube thing or whatever it is, dude, like some pod people or whatever there, and we're like in some pod full of like weird saline gel shit or whatever. That would be interesting. But I definitely think there is some more weird stuff that we don't understand as human beings that we may never understand because, again, limited capacity and shit like that. And another thing that people don't want to wake up to is the fact that, yeah, there are a shitload of fucking extraterrestrials in our universe right now, dude. Aliens, UFOs, shit like that. And there are definitely some on Earth to this day right now, dude. And I believe truthfully at this point, I would not be surprised if one day you just had one of these so-called fucking leaders in our government just walk up on stage and it was like some fucking Simpsons episode where they just yank off their fucking, whatever person's skin at that point. And it's like Kang and fucking Kodos from The Simpsons, basically, dude. It's like two giant alien dudes and shit. It's like the one episode where it's like, I think it was Bill Clinton and Bob Dole or something like that. And actually, that was a great thing about not voting two-party system then, back in those days. Because it was like, oh yeah, we're these people or whatever, we're taking them over and shit like that. And it's like, oh, you still have to vote one way or another. And people are like, we can vote third party. And they're like, ha ha ha, that's really going to work. And then, yeah, it was basically them being enslaved under like fucking President Kang or President Kodos or whatever it was then. And it's a great fucking, great episode, dude. And honestly, like, the fucked up thing was, that was when I was a kid, man. That was, I don't even know what year that came out, actually. It was maybe like 92, 93, 94, something like that, somewhere in there. It was whenever Clinton and Dole were running against each other, I believe was what it was. It was around that time period. So it would have been in the early 90s for sure. So it was either 92 or 96. I can't remember which one. But yeah, it's just crazy to think about that, dude. So you're talking about I was anywhere from like potentially like 7 to 11 years old, depending on which election cycle it was. And yeah, it's one of those things that has, kind of stuck with me in my mind all the time since then. And that's another thing. Like, that's, again, a great reason to have, multiple party system and stuff like that, dude. It's like, again, if we're going to have, fucking, let's use this as an example for that matter, You got Miss USA and stuff like that, dude. You got 50 women from 50 different states running for that fucking pageant. And yet you can't tell me that we can't have more than 2 fucking jackasses, rhino and an elephant running in a fucking race, dude. Or sorry, not rhino and elephant. Elephant and a donkey running in a race. Yeah. The reason I said rhino and elephant is because they're basically interchangeable, because a lot of Republicans, unfortunately, are fucking rhinos, dude. They're not really fucking, they're not really elephants, they're fucking rhinos. And then you got a fucking donkey in the mix too, as well, as what it is, dude. So it's like you got basically 2 jackasses, or as South Park put it in that one episode, a giant douche and a turd sandwich. And that's another great thing too, as well. The satire stuff there is, it's like, great example there as well, dude. It's like, what do you want to vote for, a giant douche or a turd sandwich? And I feel like, unfortunately, in this election cycle, we kind of got both in Joe Biden, And if you look at, going back to the Ohio governor's race here for a minute, when you look at Mike DeWine versus Nan Whaley, you have Mike DeWine, who is definitely I wouldn't even say he's a giant douche. He's like a mini douche, man. I was watching a fucking campaign ad the other day where they were he was doing some shit about like job stuff or whatever. And I'm like, this man is a fucking leprechaun. Like, he is fucking teeny. Like, how short is this motherfucker? And I said that to my mom, and she's like, she starts laughing, and then she looks over and she's like, oh my God, you're fucking right. So, and yeah, it's just crazy. Like, that dude is so fucking short, dude. He's like 5 foot nothing, or maybe even under that now that I'm thinking about it, dude. Like, he is a teeny little old man. And people allowed him to seize power in this state for 442 days to commit tyranny against all of us, dude. Like, what the hell, General Assembly? Fuck all y'all people, man. If I could vote every single one of you out right now, I would. If I had that ability to cast all you aside, I would. But anyway. Going on to one of the stories that we want to talk about today, though, which this is one of the things I do want to mention before we get too much further into this episode here, which is you got Democrat lawmaker calls for, quote, new leaders within own party after shock trade ban vote stalls. So for those that don't know, I guess there's been a it sort of goes to the insider trading thing as well on that. And I guess some of the Democrats in the party right now at a federal level, they even want to get rid of the fucking insider trading shit, dude, which is shocking, honestly, because so many of them have actually made money off of it, is what it is. So, and especially pieces of shit like Pelosi and her fucking husband and stuff like that, dude. They keep making money all the time off of it. But yeah, you got Democrat lawmaker calls for new leaders within their own party after stock trade ban vote stalls. So Representative Abigail Sperrenberger from Virginia, who is a scumbag piece of shit, by the way, called for new Democrat leadership after a vote to ban congressional lawmakers from trading stocks was stalled indefinitely in the lower chamber. said Tuesday Zoe Lofgren from California introduced the Combating Federal Conflicts of Interest in Government Act, prohibiting senior government officials and their family members from trading stocks after House Speaker Nancy Pelosi directed her to craft the legislation in February. However, House Majority Leader Stacey Hoyer from Maryland indicated that the bill would not be voted on before the midterms. How much you want to bet there's a whole bunch of bullshit in this bill? Like, knowing the fact that Pelosi herself was like, oh yeah, draft this legislation up. And let me guess, you're going to exempt yourself there, Nancy. Because we all know your bitch ass has done fucking stock trades like this before. And fucking husband Paul, that's how he makes his billions of dollars right now, you fucking hoe bag. That's why Nancy Pelosi's worth like billions of fucking dollars right now. And she made $174,000 a year in her congressional salary, dude. And the amount of time she's been in Congress, she's only worth like a few million at most, dude, is what it is. And that would be with having that would be with spending zero money of that 174 grand a year, by the way. So, anyway. It says probably no vote this week, Hoyer told CNN on Friday, as congressional members leave to focus on their campaigns ahead of the midterm elections on November 8th. Said, I haven't read it. It's a complicated issue, as you can imagine, as a new rule for members they have to follow, and their families, as I understand. So I think it deserves careful study to make sure if we do something, we do it right, said Spernbrenner, who introduced similar legislation in early 2021, tore into the Democrat leadership officials for waffling around on bringing the bill to a vote. The whole fucking point is, dude, again, they're never going to bring this to a fucking vote, lady. Call them the fuck out is what it is, bitch. Seriously. They're never going to bring it to a vote because why would they? They are literally profiting off of it not being in a fucking place right now. If it wasn't for them literally making fucking trillions of dollars for the past 40 fucking years of their shitty ass careers, dude, collectively, off of fucking insider trading with stocks and bonds and all kinds of fucking tech monopolies and everything else like that, dude, and having the insider knowledge to be like, hey, husband or hey, wife, go buy up a shitload of this stock and go dump this fucking stock right before it gets sold off. Look at how many motherfuckers right before the whole lockdowns, dude, bought a shitload of fucking stock in PPE and everything else like that, dude, whether it be masks or whether it be surgical gloves or anything like that, dude. And it was most of these pieces of shit like Pelosi and company, dude. And you can't sit here and honestly fucking tell me that they should ever be allowed to walk free again after that shit, dude. Like, that's the kind of shit that pisses me the fuck off, dude. And that's the kind of thing that, honestly, when you're talking about this kind of insider trading shit, no, you're fucking done, dude. You're in prison for the rest of your damn days is what it is, bro. End of fucking story. No ifs, ands, or buts. Just a pile of fucking nuts in your face inside of a prison cell is what it is, bro. So, anyway. Continuing on, though, as I said here, said, quote, our job as elected officials is to serve the people, not ourselves, the Virginia Democrat said in a statement on Friday, meaning Abigail there. It said, Spernberger continued, for months, momentum grew in both the U.S. House and U.S. Senate to finally take a step towards prohibiting members of Congress from day trading while on the job. So wait a minute then. So from my understanding on that one, it wouldn't even be, they would be prohibiting them to do it entirely. It would be, no, you just can't do it while you're working kind of thing is what it is, dude. So that's even more bullshit then, dude. That's even more of a bunch of horse shit then. So in reality, they're just basically being like, no, you can still stock trade. Like I said, dude, it's probably a bunch of crap in there. It's probably like, no, you can still do stock trades, just not, the day that we're about to vote on something or the day that we're going to fuck it, like the day before we're going to do something else or whatever it is, dude. So yeah, it's a bunch of fucking feel-good BS is what it is, dude, at the end of the day. This is what I'm so sick and tired of, dude. Especially with the fucking Democrat Party. Why I'm an ex-Democrat, by the way. And will never vote for these fuckers ever again, dude, because of that reasoning. Because they'll sit there and lie to your fucking face about what the shit really is, dude. Yeah, it's a bunch of crap, dude, entirely. Yeah, but she said stopping prohibiting members of Congress from doing day trading while on the job. We saw remarkable progress towards ratifying glaring examples of conflicts of interest. It's not even conflicts of interest, Abigail. It's literally criminal fucking acts, you dumb bitch. Said after first signaling her opposition to these reforms, the speaker predominantly reversed her position. However, our bipartisan reform coalition was then subjected to repeated delay tactics, hand waving gestures, and blatant instances of Lucy pulling the football. So, literally making a Charlie Brown reference. Fucking hell, man. Let's see. It says, well, Virginia Democrat then called for a change in House leadership within her own party while accusing them of sabotaging legislation so it would not pass. Because they fucking are, dumb bitch. I also like to point out, if I'm not mistaken, Abigail Sperdenbringer was a yes vote on every piece of anti-gun legislation that's been pushed this year, dude. So fuck her and fuck everybody there, dude. So anyway, see, it says, Sperdenbringer said, this moment marks a failure of House leadership, and it's yet another example of why I believe that the Democrat Party needs new leaders in the halls of Capitol Hill, as I have long made known. So what she really means is, this is what Abigail Sperdenbringer really means is, she wants to be the new leadership in power and fuck Nancy Pelosi. In reality, fuck you, Abigail, fuck Nancy Pelosi, and fuck the entire fucking Democrat Party and every rhino cunt that's also in fucking office right now. Y'all need to be arrested, thrown the fuck out of office, put in jail at minimum, and never fucking heard from again because you're sitting behind bars for the rest of your damn days is what it is. Anyway, continuing the rest of this, though, it said the seething criticism of Pelosi and other House Democrat leaders comes as Sperdenbringer has made attempts within the past 2 years to convince voters she is a moderate politician. She's not, by the way. She's an extreme leftist is what it is, dude. Said nonetheless, she faces a tough re-election battle as recent polling shows Democrats at risk of losing the lower chamber to GOP. They fucking will, by the way. So this is not the first time Sperdenbringer has called out members of her own party, as she has previously expressed that her Democrat colleagues should, quote, consider a different job if a ban on trading stocks was a deal breaker for them. Said Pelosi shrugged off Sperdenbringer's criticisms at a Friday press conference, saying her ideas were already included in Lofgren's legislation. And then basically went on to talk about Pelosi there. Yeah, it's a bunch of crap, dude, entirely. And there's a few other stories here I thought was pretty interesting. We got federal judge rules against Stacey Abrams-backed group upholds 2018 Georgia voting law. You got video, Hurricane Ian lays waste to Fort Myers. 90% of island is now gone. My God, dude, I really hope nobody was on that fucking island when that happened, dude. Because those people are gone too, man. If that be the case. That is, oh man, that is sad. Dude, I could only imagine that shit. I could only imagine that happening. That's terrible, 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 man. Yeah, like I said, I couldn't even imagine, dude. Like that would be, oh my God, dude. That would be a situation where it would be just complete devastation. And I think so many people don't understand, like, this is the kind of shit that we're having to deal with on a regular basis, man. When it comes to Mother Nature and just all kinds of other crazy shit, dude. Yeah, it's crazy, man. It really fucking is. But anyway, let's see what else we got here. Got Hurricane Ian leaves dozens dead as focus turns to rescue and recovery. That's too bad, man. Got Florida man dies in fiery Tesla crash. Got football player Antonio Brown, who I think was an ex Buckeye, Ohio State football, exposes himself to guests at hotel pool. That's fucked up, bro. I actually do want to read that, though, to see exactly what it says there for that. I got assume it was something where he either took his towel off and he had no drawers on or something fucked up there. Let's see. So former NFL wide star Antonio Brown has landed in hot water after exposing himself to several guests at the hotel pool in Dubai, India. Okay. It's a video of around the pool at the Hotel Dubai. A few months ago, former Buccaneer exposed his behind. Okay, so he showed his ass to a woman in the pool and exposed his front to her and several others. Jesus. Fucking people, man. Fucking people, dude. This one I thought was pretty interesting. We're going to talk about this for half a minute here. As soon as I'm able to get the shit up here. It'll probably be more than 30 seconds, but it'll be, just a topic of the day here thing. So you got Christina Carimo, I think that's her name, says mega movement will unite Americans across all different demographics. She's right about that, by the way. So Christina Carimo, a Republican nominee for Secretary of State in Michigan. Oh, please, please, God, please let this woman beat Jacqueline Benson for the Secretary of State of Michigan, man. And let Republicans sweep Michigan as a whole right now, dude, and be good people that are getting in office there. Actually, anything could be better than that piece of shit Jacqueline Benson right now, dude, because fucking hell, man. Like, you want to talk about pieces of crap in this country, dude? Jacqueline Benson was the fucking piece of garbage who refused to certify Whitmer's recall elections, dude. And has let that fucking piece of shit Gretchen Whitmer off the fucking hook every single time right now, dude. And she did that multiple times, by the way. That alone should have seen Jacqueline Benson in prison right now, dude. For like the rest of her damn days is what it is, dude. And the same thing with Attorney General Dana Nissel and the kids stuff recently and everything else like that, dude. And then obviously Whitmer for her tyrannical crap in Michigan for like 2 years, basically. But anyway, it says Christina Carimo, the Republican nominee for Secretary of State in Michigan, joined President Trump on stage during a Save America rally in Michigan on Saturday night and spoke about how the mega movement will unite Americans across all different demographics. She is strong on crime, including the massive crime. Okay, we're not going to say that because we don't want to get fucking YouTube yanked. It said, Christina will fight for you like no other. And of equal importance, she will fight for justice, Trump said in an endorsement of her. Said 2020 election, Cuomo was one of several Republican poll challengers in Detroit, Michigan, who claimed to see a lot of shady shit going on there that should have been audited for the elections right now, dude. I'll say that. So, yeah. We'll leave it at that, dude. We'll leave it at that. Everything across the board should be looked at, no matter what it is, dude. We need election integrity, and I'll leave it at that, really, is what it is, dude. So, anyway. So she highlighted President Biden's lawsuit against Arizona over the state's requirement to provide proof of citizenship before voting in elections. How, seriously, how did that ever become a thing, dude? When, first of all, if you cannot provide a fucking license or some kind of ID to prove that you have the legal right to vote in this country, you probably shouldn't be voting. And it's as simple as that, dude. So, anyway. See, as it said here, said Trump-backed candidate criticized her opponent, the current Secretary of State, Jacqueline Benson, for opposing voter ID. Of course fucking Benson does, because she knows she wouldn't win otherwise, dude, if you actually had fucking voter ID in place. There's what it is, man. So, anyway. Same thing with Whitmer, same thing with fucking Dana Nissel, dude. None of these fucking cunts would ever win, dude. But as this Christina woman said, it said, and then my opponent likes to claim that she's against voter ID. Okay, Michigan. She claimed that she's against voter ID because a lot of people have a hard time getting an ID. Said, Christina woman said, I have a $1 million question for you. Whose job is that to make sure people have an ID? It's the job of the Secretary of State to ensure that people have an ID. So if there's lots of people across the state without IDs, and sounds like she's failing at her job and needs to be removed from office, kind of obvious. Yes, it is. It said, Carimo also said, Benson was one of the architects behind, quote, Zuckbucks, said these people are waging war on our sovereignty. They're waging war on our freedom. That's why they're pushing positions to allow private money in our elections. You know, my opponent was one of the architects behind Zuckbucks, where they pump millions upon millions of dollars into battleground states to fund. We're not going to talk about that because we can't. We'll just say 2,000 mules and leave it at that. Let's see. It said she also criticized Democrat Tim Ryan for his comments about the need to, quote, kill and confront Trump's MAGA movement. Said Cremo said that the MAGA movement will unite Americans of all different demographics and take back our country. She went on to say, and as my buddy Matt here pointed out, what Tim Ryan said about killing the MAGA movement, these people hate our guts because they're terrified of this political movement, which will unite Americans across all different demographics and take back our country, demand our freedom, protect our children. The thing is, though, and like I've said before with that fucking cunt Tim Ryan, dude, and I've called on the General Assembly here multiple times to fucking do this already, and they still haven't, man. Tim Ryan needs to be removed from the Ohio Senate race for the U.S. Senate, dude. Period. He also needs to be investigated and potentially catch charges for fucking terrorism, which he committed when he talked about that fucking phrase, dude. Like, that is literally the definition of terrorism, is doing terrorist acts in political aims and shit like that, dude. Or I think I actually said that just a little bit off. So I'm going to go do the actual thing of exactly what it is, dude. Yeah, definition of terrorism is where is that now here? Yeah, unlawful use of violence and intimidation, especially against civilians, in the pursuit of political aims. And I'm sorry, but calling on the murder of an entire bunch of fucking people, Tim Ryan, is fucking terrorism, and your ass should be arrested for fucking terrorism, bitch. And like I said before, dude, I did less that got me a fucking federal swatting than that bitch Tim Ryan has done now, dude. How the fuck this fucking cunt Tim Ryan is still in office right now in Congress, dude, is everything that's wrong with this country currently. And the reason for that? Because he's a fucking Democrat. That's the exact reason, dude. Because this motherfucker is a fucking Democrat. And then we have a fucked up 3-tiered system where as long as you're a Democrat or a rhino sack of shit, you can get away with saying whatever the fuck. Where if you're a good, honest person that says something, as an offhanded remark, whatever the case be, oh my god, that person must be canceled forever and possibly catch charges and shit like that. Then you got dickhead Biden claims Coast Guard. Thanks, Coast Guard rescue swimmer. He's now kicking out because the guy refused to get the jibbity jab. Man, fuck the, like, see, fucking Biden himself even said, pandemic's over. What the fuck is the need for the shit then, asshole? Like, such a bunch of unconstitutional tyranny, dude. Like, medical tyranny is at the top of the list for unconstitutional tyranny right now, dude. It really fucking is. And like I said, I am personally just so sick and tired of that shit right now, dude. And again, it goes back to something I mentioned earlier on in this episode when you got fucking people that are like, no, I'm perfectly fine with just taking this shit, and they regret it later on or don't regret it at all is what it is. Double down on their own stupidity is what it is, dude, because they know, oh my god, if I thought this thing was wrong, maybe I think everything's wrong now or something, or have like no real basis what it is anymore, dude. And you got Cajun Navy assisting with hurricane and rescue efforts in Florida. Good for them. For those that don't know, the Cajun Navy was what was created after Hurricane Katrina in Louisiana happened years ago, almost 2 decades now for that matter. And it's crazy to think that, 17 years ago, you had little kids that were, potentially like newborns and shit like that, or maybe like a year old or maybe or so, that can now legally vote in this election cycle. That's what's fucking crazy, dude, to think about that one. That you have 18-year-olds now that were like fucking toddlers and shit back then, dude. Or just infants and stuff. So, anyway. Let's see if there's anything else I want to talk about. We got citizen wades in hurricane and floodwaters to locate stranger's mom. People are amazing. That might be where we'll leave today off on. Leave it off on a good story. A good story of people helping people is what it is, man. Good story of just, kindness and everything else, random acts of kindness. Because unfortunately in our society anymore, you don't get that a lot. You don't get, what you need here is what it is, man. But yeah, it's a photo. Citizen wades in Hurricane Ian flood waters to locate stranger's mom. People are amazing. There's a photo of whoever. It says Christine Baumlitz was filled with anxiety as Hurricane Ian hit Florida, where her 84-year-old mother lives. When Thursday dawned, the storm had passed, but she heard nothing from her mother as she was set worrying in her home in Las Vegas. Said Christine then went on social media for help to find her mother, Shirley Affelter, make sure she was safe. Said, any of my Florida friends know anyone in Englewood? I need to check on my mom. She doesn't have a cell. I called to have a welfare check, but who knows when that will happen. Will be at Who knows when they will be at Lemon Bay Isles. Group she signed up to evacuate seniors did not get her, so she rode it out by herself. Said, however, on Thursday afternoon, 26-year-old Cheyenne Prevent took action by wading into chest-deep waters to find this girl's mother, who was stranded in that area. Said she was relieved to find the elderly woman safe, noting she was surprised to see someone at her door. A photo showed the elderly woman with a grin on her face while sitting on her couch next to her walker. And there's a photo of the old lady. That's cool, man. That's a good story. Let's see. Said mother and daughter reconnected over the phone, and the daughter expressed her deep gratitude towards the neighbor. A total stranger. People are amazing. Social media users praise the neighbor for her efforts. One writing, I love hearing these stories of people, often strangers, going out of their way to help others. It gives me hope in our often cruel world. Said the woman who is the one that walked into the chest deep waters. Also commented and told others, not going to lie, I was scared to go after her. I'm so glad I did that, and that she's okay. What a sweet lady she is. I would do it 10 times over if it needed to be done. This is a time to get together for friends, family, neighbors, and strangers, according to the AP report. Anyone with a paddleboard later, someone with a paddleboard later arrived at the home to transport the woman to safety. That's cool, man. That's cool. So they got her out. That's all that matters at the end of the day. So, yeah, needless to say, it is what it is. And I'm going to address someone that was throwing something in the comment section and said voting R doesn't help. So the thing is, if you've been voting Democrat your whole life, there's a chance something else works, man. So it doesn't have to be Republican. Like I said, it could be an independent. It could be a fucking constitutionalist on the ballot, honestly. And if we did things right, we should have been voting constitutionalists this whole fucking time, dude. The problem is, again, with whether it be people like myself or anybody else for that matter, a lot of us don't have the campaign funds to actually run a decent campaign. Is what it is, man. We are cash poor because we are the working poor, is what it is in this country. And unfortunately, unless you have people come together as one and do like grassroots campaign funds for people and stuff like that, dude, it's always going to be some giant corporate fucking shill piece of shit like that motherfucker Anthony Gonzalez, ex-Ohio State Buckeye, who was the only known name in that fucking race a few years back is what it was. And that's why he basically got in by default is what it is, dude. So actually going back to 2016, I actually voted, it was a, oh God, I'm trying to think who it was now. John McAfee Rand Paul ticket. That being said, after I found out McAfee was open borders, I basically said fuck him and just voted for Rand Paul then. So, but even Rand Paul, I think, is kind of semi wishy-washy at this point. Like he has some stuff that he's done that I think is good, but there's other stuff he's done that's like it's sort of suspect. And like I said, honestly, if we just did across the board, you have this much time in office, 12 years, 14 years, whatever it's going to be, and then you're just done. Hell, maybe down to 10 years is what it is. And be like, yeah, you got that much time you can run for office, and then you're just gone out of it completely, dude. There would be a lot less career politicians, and there would be a hell of a lot more civil servants in this country, again, is what it would be. And I think, unfortunately, until that happens, until we, the people, actually come together and do some kind of a, initiative in every state or do a fucking, 28th Amendment to the Constitution or something, dude, ourselves, and make that be able to be passed through, like, sheer force of will and mass noncompliance and stuff like that, peacefully, whether it be a sit-in at the fucking U.S. Capitol or whatever it be, man. Like, that's what's going to have to change at this point. And unfortunately, I think a lot of people aren't going to show up to shit like that because they'd be too afraid after the whole January 6th thing is what it is, man. They'd be too afraid they're going to be used and abused for the next fucking year and a half of their lives is what it is. And I do agree with some people. I think that was a really cooling event, honestly. It was a way to cool down what they saw as a thing. I mean, hell, you could go back to 2020 here, right before all the lockdown stuff in Ohio. We had a huge grassroots movement of Second Amendment sanctuary stuff going on then. And as soon as that lockdown happened, boom, across the fucking board, everybody done gone, dude. It was a complete chilling effect then because you had everybody was like, oh my God, we don't know what this thing is. Oh my God, oh my God, oh my God. And everybody's freaking the fuck out because the mainstream media kept fucking fear-mongering them was what it was, dude. And every politician was like, oh yeah, it's the most deadly thing ever. Like, don't leave your homes unless you're an essential worker, and then, go to the fucking jobs that you've been doing for the last 10 years, these big-ass giant corporations like your Walmarts and shit, and make sure that you're doing cashier stuff and putting the food on the fucking countertops and stuff like that, dude, and on the shelves and shit. Otherwise, we're not going to be able to eat and stuff. And then meanwhile, if you're a mom and pop shop, nope, you get fucked in the ass consistently. And oh, if you're a restaurant that's barely surviving right now, nope, go ahead and shut your doors for the next year and a half of your lives. And then you wonder why you don't know more restaurant after that, dude, after fucking 25 years of being in that employment and stuff like that, dude, and employing many people is what it was. And I can tell you right now, wonder why I hate Mike DeWine so much, dude? This motherfucker as governor shut down all these restaurants in my state. Some of them were open for 25 plus years and they had to shutter their fucking doors because of that asshole, because they could not have in-person dining anymore, dude. And it was almost impossible for them to fucking do any kind of flip over to some kind of like takeout only shit. So yeah, it's a bunch of crap, dude. It really is. And the same thing with Nan Whaley, because she's so much worse, dude. She like, you take DeWine and you add like a fucking 6 foot tall stack of shit and you have Nan Whaley, dude. And that's basically what it is. Like, you take a person and you dump 6 fucking feet worth of shit on top of them to where it's all the way down from their feet to their fucking head, and that's Nan Whaley in a nutshell. I don't think she's actually 6 foot, but you get my point though. She's a giant fucking turd is what it is, dude. So, and like I said before, and I'll say again, I will never vote for either one of these assholes. I will definitely write someone else in is what it is for that governor's race. Even if it's myself at this point, honestly, dude. But anyway, really, it's just time to stop having career politicians, period, in this country. And it's as simple as that. Hope you guys enjoyed this episode, and I will see you in the next one.